All right, I'd like to call the Monday, April 18th, 2022 meeting for the Township of Hamilton to order. Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by faxing notice of the meeting to the Atlantic City Press, Star Ledger, Camden Courier, and Atlantic County Record on January the 7th, 2022. Mr. Cheek?
Here.
Ms. Hopkins? Here. Mrs. Link?
Here.
Mr. Vitale?
Here.
Mayor Kane?
Here. All right, next I'd ask you to join me for a moment of silence for private reflection. I ask again that you keep the people of Ukraine in your hearts and prayers. All right, we'll move on to guest presentations. We actually have none. And we'll move on to addition and deletion of late agenda items. We have one addition, Mayor's Proclamation for Drinking Water Week, May 1st is through 7th, 2022. A motion?
Motion.
Motion? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And next we'll move on to, well, why don't we get this proclamation out of the way, and then we'll move on to early public comment. Mary Jo, you want to come up here, or you want me to? How are we dressed up? Still fine.
Hello, dear.
All right, so what I'd like to do is read this proclamation. It's the Mayor's Proclamation. Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas drinking water serves a vital role in daily life, serving an essential purpose to health, hydration, hygiene needs for quality of life of our citizens to enjoy. And whereas tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy. And whereas the hard work performed by the entire water sector, designing capital projects, operators ensuring the safety and quality of drinking water, or a member of a pipe crew maintaining the infrastructure communities rely on to transport high-quality drinking water from its source to consumers' taps, and whereas the coronavirus pandemic has shown a light on the importance of drinking water for health, hydration, and hygiene needs. I think we knew that before that, didn't we? Whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which current and future generations depend on. Whereas the citizens of our city are called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, practice water conservation, and get involved with the water by familiarizing themselves with it. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Charles Kane of the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim May 1st through 7th, 2022 as Drinking Water Week in the Township of Hamilton. All right?
Thank you.
You got it. All right, moving on. Early public comment on agenda items, excluding items listed for public hearing. We have none. We'll move on to 3, what everybody's here for, the 2022 budget. We will begin with, the resolution authorizing local examination of the 2022 municipal budget. I'll entertain a motion.
Moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Hopkins,
Second.
second by Mr. Vitale. Rita, can we just take these in voice vote, or we need roll call on them?
Need a roll call.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
We'll move on to resolution authorizing the 2022 municipal budget to be read by title only.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Yes, if I can just read it, please, into the minutes. Whereas NJSA 40A:4-8 provides that the budget be read by title only at the time of the public hearing if a resolution is passed by not less than a majority of the full governing body, providing that at least 1 week prior to the date of the hearing, a complete copy of the approved budget as advertised has been posted in the municipal building, and copies have been made available by the clerk to persons requesting them. And whereas these two conditions have been met, now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Hamilton that the 2022 budget shall be read by title only. Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, this is a public hearing. I will now open it up to the public. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on behalf of the 2022 municipal budget? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Next, we'll move on to adoption of the 2022 municipal budget. If there are questions or comments, now's the time. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Motion by Mr. Cheek, second by Mrs. Link. Rita, could we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
All right, we'll move on. Next, we'll move on to 4, discussions. We do not have any. We'll move on to 5. Joe?
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance. We are not going to take any action on this one. As per our engineer, it is,
Good job.
we're waiting, posting this one until the next meeting as per the DEP guidelines.
So we don't need to take any action on this?
Action
We're
is
just going to
fine.
carry this over committee until the next meeting. I believe that something was noticed on it that they want to correct before we discuss it. We good with that? All right. Moving on, we'll move on to 6, Introduction of Ordinances. The public hearing will be held on May 2nd, 2022. A, tabled from 4/4/22, this is a reintroduction of 1987 20-22, an ordinance to amend 1963 2021 entitled Ordinance of the Township of Hamilton, adopting an amendment to the redevelopment plan for the entirety of the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, to permit cannabis establishment, distributors, and delivery services. Committee, you have a updated ordinance with the necessary changes made from the last discussion. Are there questions or comments on this?
On the distance of 1,000 feet from structure to structure, I'd like to see it from property line to property line, but I understand some of the issues. But I'm also concerned that if we go structure to structure, that means there could be a cannabis facility, and the property line of the Hess School could be 500 feet from the structure of the school, and kids could be playing there. So I think it should be from the structure of the cannabis facility to property line.
Committee, anyone want to comment on that or share the same sentiments or different? I understand your concerns on this, Mr. Patali, and I can't say that in certain situations I may agree with you. I do know, the only comfort that I have, and again, being a product of planning and zoning in the township for so many years, understanding the process that happens when it becomes before the planning board and/or the zoning board, and the fact that we will enter into redevelopment agreements with everyone, I feel very comfortable knowing that there's no way that the board members would approve something within, a distance that you would not feel would be appropriate in that park in any location. So, but I understand your concerns, and Is there anything else with this that anyone else has?
Well, I do agree with Carl that that was my understanding. It was from the structure within the industrial park, but then the outgoing structure, the property line, was to be honored. There's a lot of, for instance, there's a lot of movement around Hess. It isn't just from their structure. So I would agree with Carl. I think, I didn't see where we had sort of said structure to structure. It was structure to,
Existing and agricultural B2, it says measurement of distance shall be, the last sentence says from structure to structure. And that's on each one of them, it appears.
There's another,
when do we agree on that?
I'm looking for it now, okay. Within public rights-of-way or within any other unit located within the same building as the licensed facility, if the use only, what's that?
Paragraph you want.
What page?
Page 1, existing B4,
Midway through?
yeah, midway through.
The sentence starts with anywhere on adjacent property.
Yeah, it's a long sentence. But it says, licensed facility, if the use only occupies a portion of the building. I thought we weren't allowing any, they had to be standalone. So why is that in there?
It's a good question. I'm going to, I don't want to assume. Emily, do you see that on there where he's referring to?
Within the same building as a licensed facility.
I do, and this is the language that we discussed with regard to the olfactometer, and where on the property you would be able to stand in order to utilize that olfactometer. And when we came up with this language, we drafted it with the idea that one structure in the industrial park might have, and I think that we just used the same language for each one, but in the industrial park, you might have a building that has cultivation and retail. So it's not just the one, it's going to be one operator in a structure alone. It's not going to be a strip mall structure or anything like that. So I think that that's what we were going for. But if that's not what committee would like to see, we can strike that.
Is there other language that you'd prefer to see in there? Or
I mean, I think we got to kind of say what she said.
Spell it out, that you're talking about having a growing area and a distributing.
So there may be an operator who is licensed to do more than one type of operation in their structure. So they can have a retail portion along with their cultivation facility, the vertically integrated facilities. They can be in a one structure. They don't have to be in individual structures if it's the same licensed operator. And so that's where the unit comes along. If you have your retail operations and you're inviting people in from the public to purchase, the thought was you wanted to make sure that that odor wasn't emanating from the other operation into the retail portion of the operation.
I thought we were just involving a standalone growing block, and I didn't see where it involved also retail in the same location.
Yes, it does. It may. It does not have to. The licensing does not necessarily go that way. Someone could go in for a micro license or a conditional license, And then they may be able to expand into another type of license if they're operating appropriately and the Regulatory Commission decides to grant them the ability to operate that additional license. But it would be the same operator in that same location. It wouldn't be 5 different operators in one location. And it certainly wouldn't be other types of uses along with a cannabis use.
So in reality, it would have to be someone that cultivates and sells the same company, not 2 different companies, one selling, one cultivating.
Correct.
It would be the same corporation or owner or whatever.
Yes, that was the intent.
Why do you find this necessary? Are we not finding any other locations?
Finding what necessary?
Locations for having a standalone sell of cannabis? Why do we have to combine the two? Is it
We're
because-
just not prohibiting that in certain locations.
It would be common in other areas, it's common for a grower to have a retail location if they apply for that and they get licensed for both. AHT's facility in their industrial park is a grow facility and a retail facility for medical.
Oh, for medical.
So, and it's the same operator.
And they may be also now licensed to sell the recreational in EHT.
One of them got it.
One
I
of
don't know
them
which
got
one
it.
was, but, right.
I think that needs to be spelled out.
Well, I do think that in terms of what we're going to permit in each instance, the redevelopment agreement that would have to be entered into could clearly establish that when someone comes in and applies for a letter of support or endorsement from the township, we would be able to endorse a single license rather than multiple licenses, if that's what the committee would choose.
Well, every time we talked about, well, not every time, but most of the time when this was brought up, it was said that it had to be standalone, and now this clearly states it doesn't have to be standalone.
No, it absolutely has to be standalone.
This is relative to odor only and detection of odor, and this is not permitting anything other than what is permitted. We had this discussion, Ms. Hopkins and I, about this ordinance is intended to establish where in the township the uses are permitted. There will be another ordinance that establishes more of the regulations that go with operations and control. At this point in time, we are in limbo. We adopted an ordinance, sent it to the Pinelands. The Pinelands did not certify that ordinance. We need to take action to define the limits of where cannabis facilities can be established in the township. The regulatory aspect of that, Ms. Hopkins and I are going to work on an ordinance that's going to include much more of the regulation on enforcement of violations, civil penalties, and things of that nature. But this one is intended just to identify the areas in the township where we're going to permit things. This odor section is relative to odor only, not allowing those additional uses.
So it could give you the opportunity, Carl, if, let's say you had a grower or a cultivator and a retail. And the cultivator, you picked up an odor on, that's your site. Yes, I'm sorry, thank you. So the idea being that if you had a cultivator and a retailer in the same facility and the cultivator was emitting an odor, you would find that owner that operates both of them from that one facility. So in other words, they've got more to risk if an odor is detected. So they're not talking about just shutting down cultivation, we're talking about the whole operation. That's why that sentence is important in there, the way it's phrased. I know it's a lot of legalese, but this makes sense for me.
Bob, you want to weigh in at all? What's your opinion on the language? Is it, for what Carl is trying to accomplish, is it suffice, or?
I haven't studied the ordinance. Emily is our counsel with respect to that. But I think I come back to something that's been said a lot, and that is, you never lose control because it's part of your redevelopment ordinance. Someone wants to add a use, such as retail, to a cultivation site, they got to come to you. And the CRC.
We're actually going through that right now in the township, so.
So as long as you have control, and the other thing is that you have control initially when they come to you for a letter of acceptance or recommendation or whatever that's called. So you have layers of protection so that what you're concerned about, you're controlling.
Yeah, but I may only be here for the rest of this year. And then there's going to be other faces up here that can
applies to all
change
of
things
us.
the way they want it.
That applies to all of us.
I understand that. So does that mean just any law, ordinance we have, just change it?
No, it means that this ordinance can be changed. This, you could adopt this amendment and change it tomorrow.
Right.
You know, if you foresee that problem. But as I understand what Emily's saying, this particular section is geared strictly toward odor control. And what it's saying is, regardless of the number of uses, if and when allowed, the odor control portion here applies to the entire facility.
Correct.
Does that satisfy what you're trying to accomplish by the language you're talking about?
I
This
thought
section
the
does not-
odor part was being able to pull up or be in the vicinity of and smell the odor coming from the growing institution. And if there was a nice wind, was it going to be going over to the school and so on and so forth? I didn't think we were talking about just, and why are we combining the smell? The smell should be separate from anything, wherever they are. It should not be a combination of, well, okay, we're not making enough money growing, and we're supposed to package it so nobody smells it, and then all of a sudden, now we have a recreation, a store in that facility. Now we have a lot of people going to that location,
In the gymnasium.
and so on and so forth. So, I don't know, I think it should be separate.
Well, it is, it's separate in each class, there's a separate paragraph for it. What, you mean the entities should be separate? I'm a
Yeah,
little-
it should be in a separate paragraph, and it should not be combining itself with a use in the same facility. Because then you open the door again for, oh yeah, they have to come to us, and then they go ahead and do what they want.
If I may, if we remove this odor section from the ordinance, or remove that, it doesn't change the uses that are permitted in each zone. They're still regulated pursuant to the other sections. This, what we're talking about, this odor section only, is to make sure that they have a sufficient air treatment system in any facility that they open. It's not allowing additional uses.
Oh, okay, that you're saying that this does not open the door for additional uses in a
Correct.
facility.
It's directed towards provision of air treatment systems.
And have we established what that air treatment's going to be?
Well, this is a beginning of a guideline. The CRC has established certain guidelines, but Ms. Hopkins and I are going to work on an ordinance and some standard operating procedures and manual for the township so that we can establish that and have that for everyone.
Why are we just having one person work with you on establishing
You can
this?
join us.
Yeah, anyone can help, but she's the only
several
person who's
meetings now.
actually reached out to me to
Well,
discuss
invite
it.
everybody, or we can't have more than three, but invite other people.
Mrs.
And-
Link, for several meetings now, Mrs. Gibbons has asked for input from each one of us regarding this ordinance so we could get one passed. So Ms. Hopkins has been talking endlessly with Ms. Givens in order to get this thing prepared for this evening. You have the opportunity to do that also, and, you've had that opportunity, and you continue, as they move forward this, you're more than welcome to join them, providing, we don't have a quorum. So, Ms. Hopkins has already said if you want to join her with it, she's more than happy to have you join her with it.
Mrs. Link, your background in biology would be phenomenal for what we're trying to do here, because I have a weak chemical engineering background, and I would welcome any support on this.
Okay.
I think.
I haven't been invited to any meetings,
Mrs. Link, no one was invited to a meeting. It was requested the last 2 meetings in a row that we get any information we can to Ms. Givens prior to the meeting so that we get the questions answered and we get a workable ordinance to be passed.
Okay.
So no one has been, you haven't been excluded from being invited to a meeting. Ms. Hopkins has taken it upon herself, based on the direction and what was asked of her at the last couple meetings, and she's been calling Ms. Givens and updating her on what she'd like to see reflected in this ordinance. You're more than welcome, just like the rest of us, to do that individually. In addition to that, she's offered, Ms. Hopkins has requested that you help her continue to write and clean up this language that she feels may still be necessary. So you're more than welcome to join her with that.
And what is that time and date?
I suggest that you reach out to Ms. Hopkins tomorrow and find out when it's
Or Ms.
convenient for you.
Givens?
Yes, we haven't scheduled anything yet,
Yeah,
but we will be certain to include
Yeah.
you.
okay.
I have a question, Mayor.
Sure.
Isn't there a time restriction we're dealing with?
Yes, and that was part of my previous comment, is that the Pinelands Commission did not certify the ordinance that we introduced and adopted in August of 2021. Therefore, we're in limbo, whereas the township could be viewed as not having taken any action to restrict cannabis and their operations within the township, which means that retail sales could go in your commercial districts. All classes of cannabis could go in your industrial park without restriction. So we are trying to be proactive here and establish limits on where in your township cannabis facilities could go, and do that pursuant to a redevelopment plan amendment so that you maintain that additional level of control. And my recommendation is that we move forward with this. If we find that it needs to be further refined, as to Mr. Patali's point, we can do that.
So once we resubmit it to the Pinelands, what is the time frame in which they can get back to us and say yay or nay?
Generally 30 days. I do believe that because we have accepted their recommendations, it will be sooner than that.
And what are their recommendations?
We've changed the agricultural district and the forest area pursuant to their
And
recommendations.
that was the only thing they asked for?
That was all that they had asked for. And so we've done that, and then in that process, additional changes and refinements were made pursuant to committee's comments, such as the odor
Yeah, so
modification.
it's a distance and so on and so.
Yeah.
Well, is there any way that you can contact the Pinelands and say that we have an ongoing discussion and we are working on it?
Well, I
They
think
do know that, Mrs.
You
Link.
do?
Yes.
Okay.
the time has passed for continuing to work on it. I mean, we've had weeks and months now to get this to a passable situation, and I think tonight is, we should have had these questions answered, we should have had our input added to it, and tonight's, it's time to make a decision on whether we're going to vote this up or down. Any other questions or comments on the ordinance committee?
The only thing I will say is, Emily, thank you for working with me on this. We did get the churches back in. We got the 1,000 feet. I didn't see the structure, but I'm okay with this for right now. I understand there's going to be more changes coming, but I can live with this in its current form.
Committee, any other questions or comments? Anything else that needs to be addressed in the language? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adoption.
I'll make a motion,
Second.
but we change it to measurement of distance shall be from cannabis structure to property line.
I have a motion by Mr. Vitale with the cannabis, yes, Mr. Sandman.
If it's any consolation to you, and without divulging confidential documents, the lands that completely surround the Hess School are being negotiated for sale in bulk to a provider who is not going to do cannabis. So its proximity to the school is extended to the outbounds of Nolacqua Boulevard, which is pretty darn far from Babcock Street. So if that's one of your concerns,
Well, you still have ACIT, special services, and now the church.
property I'm talking about abuts ACIT.
Okay.
It abuts courthouse.
So my change shouldn't bother anything.
Your change bothers me only in that it's a material change and we have a time deadline.
Well, we haven't introduced the ordinance yet, so we would be introducing the version that council moves this evening.
So if they amend it, we would offer for an adoption hearing at the next meeting as amended.
Correct.
Do that?
Okay, so with that being said, taking into consideration Mr. Sandman's comments, Mr. Vitale, does that change your motion?
No.
Ms. Hopkins, does that change your second? No. So we have a motion, we have a second with the language as discussed. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
No.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
No.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
The ordinance is introduced with that amendment. Emily, I'm ready to go to the paper with what you have, so I will not be able to publish until I get a new one. So we're still going to try to work with the public hearing on May 2nd, as long as I have the corrected ordinance by,
And I just want to
Two.
read this language back to Mr. Vitale.
yes.
Measurement of distance shall be from cannabis structure to property line. Okay, thank you.
I thought that's what we were
Good.
going to do.
All right, with that, we'll move on to 7A. Resolution awards of bids and contracts / change orders. Resolution authorizing the mayor to sign engagement letter with Mullen Coughlin LLC. Mr. Sandman?
This is simply removing me out as counsel and moving special counsel in that have knowledge and experience in the area. And because of the deductible has been exhausted, it will be of no expense to us because the insurance company accepts coverage.
Committee, questions, comments? Ms. Hopkins and I have been on several Zoom calls in regards to this. We have a full understanding of it. I believe this is something that's necessary, and we should move in this direction. But any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Cheek, second by Ms. Hopkins. Rita, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins? Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes. All right, I will move on now to the consent agenda. We have items A through F. Any items that any committee member would like to see removed or taken out to be discussed? If not, I'll entertain a motion to move the consent agenda A through F, please.
So moved.
I have a
Is
motion
it,
by Mr.
hold on,
Vitale.
isn't,
Oh, I'm sorry.
if we, oh, okay, if you, you still have an amendment on 6A, so therefore is E applicable, tabled from 440, this one right here. Resolution authorizing the township for the planning board to review a proposed thing for redevelopment.
They go hand in hand, and since we've taken action on the introduction, that should stay in now, E, correct? Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman?
but the action for it has to be read again for this to pass here, because there's a
Or just
change
pull-
in,
Just pull E.
No.
Referring it to the land use board.
All right, right now, we're going to pull, I'll entertain a motion for A
Referring it, right?
through D and F, please, for the consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Vitale,
Second.
second by Ms. Hopkins. Rita, can we get a, I'm sorry, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Ayes have it. Now we'll consider consent agenda item E. I'm sorry, Ms. Link, go ahead.
no, I thought if this 6 was proposed, but with a change, and we're going to see it next week, the following week, would that negate E?
No.
It would not.
No? Okay. All right.
All right, so with that, I'll entertain a motion or questions or comments on E. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So,
I have a motion
Second.
by Mr. Cheeks, second by Mr. Vitale. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay.
We'll move on to 9, personnel. A, resolution appointing alternate fund commissioner to Atlantic County Joint Municipal Insurance Fund for calendar year 2022. Joe, we don't have a name on there. Do we need a name on there?
Sue Giverson?
Sue Iverson. Committee?
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
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 Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, we'll move on to 10, approvals. A, minutes, regular meeting minutes of April 4th, 2022.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Vitale,
Second?
second by Mrs. Link. Rita, I'm sorry, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. B, minutes, executive session meeting minutes, April 4th, 2022.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
second. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
C, minutes, special meeting, April 8th, 2022.
So moved.
I have a motion,
Second?
second. Roll call, please, Rita.
Mr. Cheek?
Abstain.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 abstention.
Lastly, we'll take minutes, special executive session minutes, April 8th, 2022, please.
So moved.
Motion,
Second?
second. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Abstain.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Madam Clerk, I'd just like to thank you for getting these out so quickly to us, and so we can review them and get any input back to you. I vote yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 4 yes, 1 abstention, motion carries.
Next, we'll move on to E, bills. Bill list total $1,877,781.44.
So moved?
Motion by Mrs. Link,
Second.
second by Ms. Hopkins. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, we'll move on to reports. Mr. Administrator, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The township will complete its coordinated outreach efforts. They did this past Thursday towards a potential fiscal year '23 federal appropriations that focused on the Leafy Park Recreation Complex Expansion Project. The application was submitted to Congressman Van Drew's office this past week, and a second application will actually go to Senator Menendez's office this coming week as well. This, again, will focus on additional $1 million for the Leafy Park expansion, and we should find out within 1 to 2 months of that. Additionally, the township engaged the county to discuss a potential partnership to improve the area around the train trestle. The township started the conversation with our engineers to discuss a grant application that falls under the TA set-aside. It's a revised TAP grant, it's called Transportation Alternatives Program. This is a new revised version called the TA set-aside. So we're going to look at that for a potential bike bridge along the trestle to connect pedestrian pathways to downtown. We are also starting the onboarding process with Planet Civic for residents and businesses to have a greater outreach voice in the township. and the process will have a target rollout date of approximately May 1st. Park Road questionnaire is drafted for residents and should be mailed out within the next 7 days. Administration is also researching technology platforms to assist road department in evaluating and budgeting for road improvements. The township engaged counsel with legal background in historic homes, and as such will be assisting the Historic Preservation Commission with pocket sites. And the township is starting to explore internship opportunities with local colleges. That is a statewide initiative with the New Jersey Municipal Managers Association to increase employment interest with local government. That's my report.
Thank you. Mr. Solicitor,
Nothing.
talked to you a lot in the last week.
Spent a lot of time together.
Thank you, Bob. Well, you know how hard you're working on the other issues we're dealing with, so. Wow, what a pleasure to see you sitting in that chair, huh?
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank
How are
you.
you, Steve?
Thank you.
I gotta tell you,
What? You did? Well, that's nice. I missed you, too.
Joe's a great guy.
So, I have a few items to report on. I wanted to start on Third Street. Obviously, you've noticed a lot of construction. It's about 35% complete. I've been out there occasionally. I'm very pleased with the quality of the concrete work that's occurred. We're going to take a little bit of a breather from here on out because school's still in session. So when Shaner School goes off session on June 24th, construction will begin again. There's a lot of concrete work going on in front of Shaner School, so and some drainage work in front of there. So we're going to take a little bit of time off. The contractor will until June 24th. We assisted with the application for reimbursement, the 75% reimbursement from DOT, because that was a grant that we received out there. That application was submitted on March 22nd. The next item I want to report on is the 2022 road program. I know Joe Maffei has worked assessing some of the streets, and there's been some discussions and meetings, so it's always good to get an early start in the year to get started on the road program. So I know Joe's done some assessment and has worked with the subcommittee on that. Lake Lenape Dam, I know that's been Carl's project for a couple of years, and I understand it's going well. I understand there's a date where the target date is October 1st of this year for a contract to be awarded. So I presume WSP is about to, or they've put plans out to bid?
Talked 90%, yeah. Brett told me that today, that they are at 90% right now, so that they definitely sped that up.
That's
So
good.
that's good.
I know you were insistent upon all that, especially with the grants that you applied for, so.
Yeah, we have no choice. It has to be October 1st. Or they basically said, you don't have this by October 1st, you're not getting the money.
Yes.
So we will have it October 1st.
And I know I attended a meeting early in the year, maybe late in January, and I know on early discussions on the dam, there was discussions that they would lower the water in Lake Lenape, but at that hearing or information session, they're not going to lower. They're
No.
building a coffer dam to do all the work on the dam, so there won't be any lowering of the lake, which I'm sure will make everyone very pleased. Next item is Atlantic Avenue. Atlantic Avenue was completed last summer, August, September is when they paved it. There's a $338,000 grant that was awarded for that road. The DOT came down about 2 weeks ago, finally, and they signed off. So we've put in for final payment. I know we received the 75% earlier in the year, but we put in for final payment to DOT, so that road is 100% complete. Joe also had in his report about there was a water leak on Atlantic Avenue. So I called the MUA today, and I got a little more confirmation. There was a water line leak that occurred, I guess, in front of Public Works.
Mhm.
So they're going to have that water line replaced from Clayton's self-storage units down just past Public Works. It's about 3,000 feet of water main replacement, and they're going to actually increase that the line size from 12 to 16 inches, if possible, is what their goal is, the MUA's engineer. And the timing of this should fall into place because we have a grant for the road reconstruction to finish that section of road from the post office all the way down to just past Public Works there to River Road. So that should fall into place. Next item is Leafy Field. I know this has been a very, very important project for the township. I've been working on this. I've been in conversation with Pinelands, the DEP on the septic system, and an architect who I'd like to bring in on the project. So we're about ready to make a lot of progress on the Leafy Field recreation. I worked with Joe Kostecki about a week and a half ago on the grant application, and a good part of that is that $1 million grant application allows us to increase, our first phase was supposed to be $775,000, so we're moving that to $1 million, which will, the added line item is going to be lighting out there, some increase in lighting. So I'm working hard. I know that's an important project to the mayor, so I'll continue to work hard and.
Steve, that's parking lot lighting?
That's parking lot lighting. So
When do you think we'll actually see the porta potties removed?
sometime later this summer, I think they'll be out of there.
I think that's going to be the biggest change out there.
Yes.
Of course, the addition to recreation components out there is going to be great, but,
You know, porta potties for 20 years, I mean, it's time has come, so.
Yes, I agree.
fantastic.
Park Road, I think that was discussed. I know I've talked to Joe Maffei on that a little bit over the last month or so, but I know there's some review of existing easements to see if there's adequate room to place sidewalk along Park Road. So I know that's being looked at closely. And hopefully we could do something, because it's a little bit dangerous for the way the public and a lot of regular public walk up and down Park Road. It's a little bit dangerous. So I know Councilwoman Hopkins had mentioned that to me very first meeting of the year, and so I know it's important.
Thank you, Steve. All right, we'll move on to Township Committee. Any questions of Mr. Philippone, anyone? If not, Mrs. Link?
Now, I understand that our traveling street hockey program won their tournament, or the A team won. Are you familiar with that?
I know the cadets they won. I should have wrote it all down, but I didn't. I'll have something for the next meeting, because it was fast and furious with what was going on down there. But I know they all did very well.
Yeah, I know the B team lost by a goal. 'Cause my grandson was on that, so I know. But he's, he has to learn how to lose as well as to win. And they said and mentioned that the A team did win. I think it was cadets. What age group is that? Age 8 to 10 or something? I don't know.
wanna say
I'm
6 to
putting you
9.
on the
Yeah.
spot, I'm sorry. We're just constantly following what's happening in Ukraine and praying for them every day, and praying actually for democratic societies all throughout the whole world. So we got to keep on supporting them, and they are fantastic at fighting and winning their wars, but they do have to have the equipment that they need. So let's hope they get it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Patali?
I had the pleasure of throwing out the first pitch at baseball last week. Fields looked great. Good job, Brett, and to the volunteers down there. They do a lot of work down there on them. Fields look really good. Thank goodness I threw a strike. I thought for sure it would go off and hit whoever, but I was able to get it across the plate. Not with much.
Did they call it a strike?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Not much velocity, but it went over the plate. And that was pretty neat to think back to the day when I played back in the 1970s, and now there I am out there throwing the first pitch. That was pretty cool. There's been some throwing it out there. We need some help. There's been some openings in some of our boards. I know the HPC has 2 openings now. Industrial
Mm-hmm.
Commission has an opening. So, we'd love to see some people make some time and put in an application, because we need to fill some holes. So putting it out there, the application's on our website. Please, come on out and help out your township. My mind's going off on me. But no, I guess that's about it. Reagan, Maddie, love you, miss you, hope to see you soon.
All right. Ms. Hopkins?
So I'm actually writing my notes. The Planet Civic, we're excited about that. The ability to reach out to 27,000 townspeople and get them to coordinate, collaborate with us as we govern is just a phenomenal process, and we get it done. So I'm looking forward to that. The Funny Bunny turnout on Friday. You know, Mays Landing, we're good at some stuff, like the pub caroling, the Halloween parades, the hometown celebrations. But we started a new tradition this year with handing out baskets to about 500 children that weren't otherwise going to get Easter baskets. And it was awesome to be in DC and hear the joy from all of the townspeople. It touched a lot of people's hearts, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that contributed. It was a really big success. And the grant machine, Joe, I can't thank you enough. You published the list and said, go to this site and open it up, and I went in, I looked at the calendar, and there were 11 grants that I didn't recognize. And all of a sudden, Brett and I started looking like, oh, we didn't know about this one. This is really cool. So we're now planning our grant spending for next year in our out year on the road improvement plans. But I was really excited about it, and I would encourage everybody to take a look at it. It is a website you go to, and it tells you all the available grants, and it gives you just enough information to know if you have a project that you're working on that might fit into it, and they're all the available grants, and it gives you a timeline as to when they're due. So we can now do forward planning well into next year and into 2024 on some of these grants, and that was a real difference in our community, and I thank you for that, sir. That's all.
Very nice. Mr. Cheek?
Yes, along with Carl and Judy, I guess where summer sports are starting, baseball, whatnot. Great to see the kids over at Underhill playing and doing whatever. Also, this Wednesday, we have 6 members of the Mays Landing Fire Company receiving the Whitey Schwartz Valor Award for saving a lady in the Sandpiper condominiums. The condo was on fire. They went in and got her, so kudos to the volunteers that put their life at risk and having something like that. Also, you have to think about Ukraine and the Russian thing going on, and leading the flag tonight, the flag salute tonight. When you stand up, be proud to be an American. God bless America.
Amen.
That's it.
Amen.
That's it. Very nice. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Well, I'll start off on, Ms. Hopkins touched on it. There is proof here. We actually had the chief in bunny ears on Friday. Lisa, I don't know if you can get that zoomed in or not, but we had the chief in bunny ears on Friday, so it worked out really nice. I got to tell you, my compliments to Cheryl Kalari from Earth Angels, Amy Hassa from Hamilton Cares, obviously the chief, and the many volunteers, Mays Landing Fire Department, Lauderdale Fire Department, Mays Landing Rescue Squad, and Dr. Zita from the school district. Just what a nice event, and many hands lifting made the work easy. But I have to tell you, getting into the neighborhoods and seeing the smiles on the children's faces for something as simple as an Easter basket, a small Easter basket, a small token of appreciation, and it was just fantastic. I think I had more fun than the kids did. I really do. I think that there was times when you listen to some of the comments coming out of these very, very small children, the best day ever, the best day of my life, this is amazing. You know, and the gentleman that portrayed the Easter Bunny, hats off to him, because he hung in there for many, many hours.
Easter
and,
Bunny's real, bro.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the Easter Bunny is real. He was his assistant. But he hung in there, and the kids got a lot of pictures with the Easter Bunny, and we made it into several neighborhoods, and it really was a great time. And I hope that they continue to do this, because I can tell you, it was extremely impactful to the young children that received the baskets. And I know there were in excess of 350 that were given out, and I know several days earlier there were more given out. So it was a great event, and I thank them for putting it on, and I thank everyone that was in attendance volunteering their time to do it. It lasted many, many hours, but it was a great time for all of us. I tell you, I take great pride in sitting up here and seeing us pass a budget this evening, 0-cent tax increase on the residents of this town. It took a lot of work. It was a heavy lift from a lot of people. Cynthia, I thank you for all the time that you spent on this. She knew what the marching orders were, and she made sure that we found it. We found it to get to zero, because we know how much people are hurting and how important it was. And I keep touting it. The great things, we need to keep looking for efficiencies, new efficiencies, and ways to make government less intrusive on residents and less expensive for residents. It's easy just to raise taxes and let government keep spiraling out of control. I think in Hamilton, we've done a great job of maintaining a government at the size it's been for many years, maintaining the services that come along with that. And I think for the tax dollar in Hamilton Township, the residents certainly get a lot. For the portion that we control here, sitting on this dais, the township residents get a lot, and I want to thank everyone involved in it. It was nice to see that budget go 5-0 on a bipartisan vote, so I thank you for that. The LSB community, I just want to give a quick update. I met with the chief prior to the meeting this evening. We are almost all green light. Chief, you want to see this picture, or are you good?
No, I got a picture of you too with bunny ears on. It was funny. So when I first walked in there, one of our detectives, Mike Tandem, says, you got to put ears on and a bunny tail. And I said, yeah, it's not happening. And then I walked in and I said, you know how Mayor Kane loves his hair and doesn't like to mess it up. I'm like, if he puts bunny ears on, I will. And he goes, no chance. And then he puts them on, so I had to put them on. So I didn't put the bunny tail on, though. So my hair doesn't get messed up anymore. So anyway, the state did their site investigation the other day, so we're waiting for a report from them. The ordinance is written. It's got to go to attorney review. Once we get the red or the green light from the state, then it goes to the county, then it goes to our solicitor. So we're almost there.
Sounds great. We're looking forward to it, Chief.
Yep, great. Low-speed vehicles. Yes.
All right, thank you. With that, I will open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak? Wow. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to executive session. We are going to have executive session, contract to vacate streets in the industrial park. This is covered under attorney-client privilege, and B, personnel. Mr. Salmon, will we be coming back and taking any action this evening? It is anticipated that we will come back into regular session and take action on the executive session discussion. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Rita?
Want a roll call vote?
I think we're good with a voice vote on that, right?
Yep.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
right.
I'm not reading that.
Well, you're not reading it now?
Nobody listens to me, so
Okay.
I decided I'm not reading it. Mr. Ol.
Subject matter is longer comprehension. Two members of the public can comment this. Go and check the lobby and see if there are others. Yes, sir. And you go? Yes, sir.
All right. In the matter of 13, executive session, We've discussed two separate items, contract to vacate streets in the industrial park and personnel. We're coming back out in the public, prepared to take action on both. First, we will take A, the contract to vacate streets in the industrial park. I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution to allow mayor to sign the same.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Vitale,
Second.
a second by Mrs. Link. Rita, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
On a totally separate item, personnel, under B, personnel, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the separation/general release agreement and authorize Chuck Schlugger to present to council.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Vitale,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheek. Rita, could we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, this is a public hearing. We have reconvened in public. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak on these matters? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.